Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to The Breakfast Club, the first part of our 2021 holiday special. So yeah, for the 2021 holiday special, we are doing essential films, films that are considered kind of important, necessary viewing for anyone who's a fan of movies. And The Breakfast Club is definitely one of those. While I've never seen it, which surprises a lot of people, I know of its impact. It's definitely like one of those big movies that everybody praises pretty much. All I know about it is it's about a group of delinquent kids who come together. That's like pretty much it. And I know like the ending, the very ending shot, because that's been parodied to death by other things. I know the very ending shot and everything, and the song that's playing along with it and all. But that's all I know about this movie. I don't know the context. I don't know like what the characters are like. I don't know what the actual plot is about outside of the general premise. So I'm definitely interested to see. This is a movie I've wanted to see for quite a while, but just never got around to. I even have a friend who says this is one of her favorite movies of all time, and she was even shocked by the fact that I have never seen it. So we're now seeing it. This is, again, one of those movies that so many people consider essential, and the fact that I've never seen it, like I said, shocks a lot of people. So we're gonna rectify that. I don't know what this is rated offhand. I think it's PG-13, but I'm not actually confident in that at all. And I don't know any of the actors who are in it either. As in, I just don't know who's in it. I might know some of the actors, but I don't know if I do. I don't know what to expect going into this. Pretty much at all. So I have no clue what I'm going to think about it in the end. We're just going to kind of have to see. As with pretty much everything I react to, we're just going to kind of have to see. So for all of you who celebrate a holiday during this time of year, I hope you have or have been having happy holidays. For all those who celebrate Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Yule, or even Christmas upcoming on the 25th, whatever you celebrate, I hope that you have a great season and that it's a fantastic time of year for you. So yeah, we're going to get started on this and see what this movie has in store for us. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then it fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the movie. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So that was The Breakfast Club, the first of our 2021 holiday special of essential films. And I'm just going to say right off the bat, you have to be prepared that with these being such essential, huge name films that are so popular, so just synonymous with, in a lot of people's eyes, quality, you have to be prepared that I'm not always going to see that quality. That I'm not always going to be up there with everyone else thinking that these films are just amazing and wonderful. So you have to understand that I have my own opinions on things. And they're not going to always mesh with everyone else's. That being said, I don't see the hype in this movie. There are some good parts to it, but overall, I don't get it. I don't get the hype. I don't understand the strong appeal. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad film. It's actually well written, well paced, and the characters are acted extremely well. All of the actors did a fantastic job. But there's a lot of issues with this film. And I'm not even talking about the stuff of the times where it's like, oh, they use terms that nowadays they could never get away with using because they're horrible. And we've moved past that as a society for the most part. I'm not even talking about that. There's some notable issues with this film in terms of how it portrayed certain plot points and character moments. And just, I think one of the best ways to sum it up is what I said in that last act of the reaction. When Brian, I think his name is, the brainy kid, when he said, I consider you all friends, I consider all of us friends, or whatever exactly it was. And my response was, why? I think that sums it up. Because there's absolutely no reason for them to have been to have seen each other as friends at the end there. Throughout the entire movie, they almost never got along. They were constantly yelling at, insulting, and belittling each other. It was only at the very end that they started to actually listen to each other and show any sense of care. And it felt honestly kind of forced. The idea that they became friends felt extremely forced. The only relationship that felt more natural was the one girl and John getting together by the end. That I expected. Everything was leading up to that because of the tropes that these movies tend to follow. But then there was a lot. Everything else just didn't make sense. The fact that they were all friends by the end, the fact that the jock character, I'm not going to be great with their names, so I apologize. The jock character and the weird girl, I'm going to call them by their clique types, basically. The fact that they got together in the end makes absolutely no sense. It came out of nowhere. And where the fuck did the name The Breakfast Club come from? It's like, that was never brought up. Breakfast was never even a part of it. Yeah, they got there at 7 a.m., but they never had breakfast during it. The only food they had during the entire movie was lunch. Why are they called the Breakfast Club? Why was that suddenly thrown in at the end out of nowhere? When did they decide on that name? We never see any of that. So it just comes across as kind of confusing. And it's like, then there's also this kind of B plot that's brought in at one point about the teacher and the janitor kind of hanging out and talking about things, and it almost looks like it's going to go into a little thing about the teacher maybe learning not to be so much of an asshole. But they don't do anything with it. Nothing happens with that little mini plot. What was the point of showing that? It looked like it was trying to like maybe semi-redeem him as a character, to try and like, again, maybe at the end he was going to apologize to the kids or whatnot, but nothing ever came of anything with that. As such, it felt completely random and disconnected from the rest of the movie. And on top of that, I honestly don't think there's a single character in this that I liked. This is not from a writing perspective, but from just a personal enjoyment perspective. I would say that every character in this kind of sucks. They're all terrible people, and it's like I I was not given a reason to care about any of them. Like, yeah, they had some sad stories and everything, but with the way they're acting, it's like you're no matter what is going on in your home life and all, that does not excuse bad behavior. Like, you are responsible for your own behavior. And I think the only one who I could probably say was closest to me liking was Brian, because he's the only one who didn't seem to do as much bad either in during the events of this film or in his backstory. Um, but even he was just kind of not that likable, not that interesting of a character either. He was extremely bland and boring, and just I could not care about him. Nothing in the movie made me care. The actor did a great job, but that doesn't mean I care about the character. There is a difference there. Um, but all the other characters, even with the like shit we found out about their home lives and all, it's like it's still making me like either just not care or actively dislike them still. Like John, it's like, yeah, it's said that his home life is absolutely horrifying, just extremely abusive and disturbing, and like they would need to call child services. Like, that's how bad it is. But that does not excuse his actions. It explains them, it does not excuse them. He is still responsible for his own actions. He's an older teenager, presumably. They're presumably older high school. You would kind of have to assume so, considering it's clearly adults playing them. um, so you kind of have to assume they're at the very least 16. They're very much old enough to understand right from wrong and to understand what they're doing is bad. So his home life is no excuse for John to act the way he does. He is an absolutely shitty, terrible person. And his home life does not excuse that. It explains it, but it does not excuse it. He is completely unlikable up to the end. In fact, he's the most unlikable. It's not even like one of those characters who's like, oh yeah, he's a bad boy, but he's got a heart of gold and anything. It's like, no, he really doesn't. He's just this shitty person. Um, then there's the jock guy, and he's really not much better. Like, they make it very clear through the movie, like, he's actually almost as bad as John. Not completely. He's not completely as bad, but he was pretty shitty himself. Let's be honest. Um, the weird girl, she's supposedly a compulsive liar. You can't believe anything she says or has said. Like, she implies her home life is very much her parents are very what's the word for it? They ignore her. There's a word for it I can't think of. Um, Not quite absent, but you know what I mean. But how do we know that's true? She had admitted before that she's a compulsive liar. We can't believe literally anything she says. We have no reason to believe anything she says or does. She's completely unreliable. And I can't enjoy a character like that when there's no genuine trust in them. in anything they're saying. Like, you can't connect to them because of that. And then the other girl, the one who's up for like prom queen or whatever, um, she's she was a dick to a lot of the characters too. And yeah, kind of a lot of it was in defense of them being dicks to her. But it's like she wasn't really being that much better. And the entire thing near the end about like her saying like that she wouldn't like be friends with them after today, that she would be like in one of those cases where it's like she'd probably say hi and then just like shit talk them to her friends because that's the kind of friends she has, and she can't just like break away from that. It's like that was never resolved, by the way. That entire argument was never resolved. It was just kind of implied that that's still where it would have gone. And it was even made clear that that's a horribly shitty thing to do, and that she is shitty for saying she would do that. And it's just it's insane. Again, Brian is the most likable, but even he isn't like likable enough to actually truly care about him as a character. And again, while the actors did a great job, if I can't connect to the characters at all, why should I care? The quality of the acting doesn't make up for the characters being unlikable and unenjoyable to watch. And I think the best part of this movie, the part that actually kept me in kind of invested, was just the scenarios they were getting up to. Seeing them get into certain scenarios, such as when they were running through the halls trying to get back to the classroom and John decided to act as a decoy and everything. Like, I liked that scene. That was a great scene. Because it actually felt like something was happening, which a lot of this movie didn't feel like, if I'm being honest. And it's not a pacing issue, it's just there wasn't much happening in this movie. And two, it was actually entertaining. It was funny, and it utilized the actors really well, especially John's actor. But then there's also some scenes and some things that were thrown in that seemed really out of place. Again, with some of the relationships and how that was worked, but also the random dance scene. I get that they were supposed to have like had fun and come into like some closeness or whatever, I guess. But it felt really random. Like really random. And it was very quick too. It didn't mesh well with what was happening before and after. It didn't feel like it was naturally it didn't feel like it was naturally phased into or out of even. It just felt like it was added in randomly and just it didn't work in my eyes. The actual like shooting of things, like the camera work and everything, the sound work was fine. Although some of the music was a little too loud comparatively, to like the audio of like the characters speaking. The like actual like music that played was really weird. There was also this weird thing that they did like twice in the movie, I think, where when John was going to yell out "fuck you," for some reason they just ramped up this musical score, this like edgy rock musical score that kind of drowned him out when he was yelling "fuck you," but it seemed out of place because like they weren't really censoring much with this film. So it's like, also this film's clearly rated R. I was wrong on the rating. That's made very clear by the by the language used. But it's like, why did it do that? Like, they say fuck it other times in the movie, and it didn't censor that out. And it's like, why specifically for those two moments? Was it just to emphasize his emotional state when he yelled that? Because both moments he was kind of like really actually broken down and really legitimately upset. That's the only thing I can think of, because otherwise it just kind of feels weird. And it's just, I don't know, it didn't really work in my eyes for what they were trying to do. Or what I assume they were trying to do, at least. I don't know. It wasn't a bad movie. I'm not saying that. It's just, I can't exactly say that this was an amazing or great movie either. I would just kind of put it as meh. It's a little disappointing if I'm not, or if I'm being honest. Just for the fact that maybe because of all the hype that I heard about, I was expecting to like it a lot more, and I just didn't. But like I said, when I watch any movie on this channel, when I react to any movie or any show or anything, I don't know if I'm going to like it most of the time. It's kind of up in the air, and sometimes I won't. This is just one of those cases where I wasn't the biggest fan of this. It's honestly not something I would watch again. At least not in its entirety. I might watch like a cut up reaction on YouTube if certain YouTubers I like do it, but that's mostly just to see their reactions rather than the movie. But I definitely wouldn't watch this in its entirety again. Like, I don't get the hype. To me, it's just it's got too many problems for me to truly get into it. And again, with the biggest one for me is the fact that I don't really like any of the characters. For me, you have to like the characters. And you can like bad guys. It's not even like, oh, like all of them are bad people. You can like characters who are bad people. Like, a lot of times, most of these villains you see, especially in superhero media, are terrible people, but you could still like them. I didn't like any of these characters. I didn't care about them. I didn't like them. I didn't enjoy them. I don't know. So yeah, I was kind of disappointed by this one. But I saw it. I finally saw The Breakfast Club. People can stop nagging me about it. I have finally checked it out. I have an unpopular opinion about it, but I checked it out. So I want to make clear, if anyone likes or even loves this film, that's perfectly valid. You have every right to do so. I'm not going to say you're wrong. I'm not going to like question or insult you about it. If you genuinely like or love this film, that's perfectly fine. This is just my personal opinion. But that being said, yeah, this was the first of our 2021 holiday special. So now we move on. And that means, let me just check to make absolute certain here. If I can find it. Yep. That means next week, we come to our next holiday special essential film, The Usual Suspects. This one I know a little bit more about than The Breakfast Club. But I'll go into that in that video. I still don't know a lot, but I know a little bit more than I do about The Breakfast Club. And it's another movie that I've been told I should check out time and time again, just not as much. The Breakfast Club, let's be honest, is one of those films that I've been told I should check out a lot, just because it's so big. But yeah, so the usual suspects next week. Sorry for the sun just blaring in like that. It's that time of day. For now, though, thank you all so much for watching. Tell me in the comments below, what do you think of The Breakfast Club? Do you love it or like it a lot more than I did? Or are you more with me and just find some issues with it? Let me know down in the comments below. Either way, it's perfectly valid. And for now, I hope you all, once again, have a very happy holidays, no matter what you celebrate, if you even celebrate. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.